Hello, everyone. 401wrestling.com. Welcome back to the Apter Chat. And you're down here at Apter's Alley. And what is this? Buffalo Bill Coat? I'm trying to call someone here via... Oh, my God. It's Eric Bischoff.
That would be Buffalo Bill Cody Beer.
And .com. And can you tell us about this this Buffalo Bill Cody.com? I'm not old enough where I actually remember him, but I do remember the TV show.
Yeah, BuffaloBillCody.com is where you can go online and find out more about our beer. But Buffalo Bill Cody Beer is a beer that Jason Hervey, my partner, and I, and my wife have been working on for about 4 years now. We currently distribute the beer in Wyoming, Montana, North, South Dakota, Arizona, Nevada. We just got distribution in Nevada, and soon to be Colorado and Florida. So we're taking over the world one small bar at a time.
Did beer become your choice of beverage from your days on the road with the boys?
You know, I've always been a fan of beer. I grew up, in Detroit. My mom and dad lived in a working class neighborhood, and the neighbors would get together on weekends and drink beer and cook on the grills. It was always part of our family and culture. As I got older, I traveled to Europe when I was in high school, and that was where I really first became a fan of beer, is having the opportunity to taste some of the great beers in Europe. And it's always been kind of a quote-unquote hobby of mine.
Yeah, that's great. There's a lot of great country music beer songs.
There's a lot of great country music, everything songs. Beer, dogs, cats, divorced wives, girlfriends.
That's almost all I listen to, by the way.
You name it. They've made a country music song about it.
Yeah. Yeah. By the way, I don't know, since you've never seen Apter's Alley before, I kind of redesigned the set a little bit tonight to pay homage to you with the NWO jacket that you and Hulk and the boys gave to me way back when. And also two of the people here, of course, who you were so instrumental in changing their lives and the lives of every TV viewer. I want to talk to you for a minute about the fantastic Monday Night War show that's been on the WWE Network, which of course you can get for only $9.99. But and it's produced by my good friend Brian Decker. But one of the things in the final episode that you said, which has just gone over and over and over in my head, and I love this line, when they were asking you about the whole experience afterwards, you said, the lowest of lows was worth the highest of highs. And wow, you were at the highest of highs. I mean, that just resonated with me.
Yeah, it was a great time to be in the wrestling business, and I didn't appreciate it as much then as I do now, because you never really understand the magnitude of something that's happening to you until long after it happens, unfortunately. And I knew it was a great time, and I appreciated it, and I was grateful for it in so many different ways. But now looking back on it, I appreciate it even more. I'm even more grateful now, and I wish I knew then what I know now. But that's the story of life. It's human nature.
Yeah, I mean, that was the most amazing time in the business. And one of the quotes that I had on the final episode was that we talked about all the world wars and the Vietnamese War and how all these wars we wished would end, but this was the one war that I wished would have never ended. It was the best time to be a wrestling fan. It was the best time for compelling TV.
It was, and I think that the nature of the competition, we call it a war, but the nature of the competition between WCW and WWF or WWE was such that it forced us both to raise our games. I had the pressure on me initially, and it wasn't something that I asked for. It wasn't something that I positioned for or wanted. I never dreamt that I was going to get 2 hours of prime time on TNT. It wasn't my goal, but it was thrust on me. And once it was, I realized it was either, I have to make this work or it's going to be a huge failure on my watch. So that pressure forced me to operate outside of my comfort zone and the things I knew. It forced me to take risks and to make changes. And our success did the same thing that WWF. Vince McMahon was forced to change the nature of his product.
Sure, it made everyone better.
It made everybody better because it forced us to become more competitive. And I miss that. The business misses that. And I'm just grateful I happened to be there at that moment in time.
Yeah, yeah. One question I also had about the Monday Night War, and I saw this when it happened, of course, live, when you and Vince hugged back by the Titantron there. What did you say to each other?
My exact words were to him as we were hugging, and I said to him, Vince, that feeling that you feel in your feet right now, yeah, that's a lot of people turning over in their grave. That's my exact words to him.
Well said. Well said. I just remember Booker T's reaction when you were in the dressing room talking to Vince, and Vince introduced you there, and Booker T's eyes just went. The whole screen was his eyes. He couldn't believe it. None of us could. But again, Monday Night War. Catch it on the WWE Network. Also wanted to talk to you about, again, before we get into this, what else are you doing these days? Tell us what, well, besides, yes, I don't have my bottle of Fanta here, unfortunately. I'm an orange soda-aholic. But tell us what else Bischoff and Hervey are currently producing for TV and other projects.
Yeah, we've got a show right now Jason is immersed in as we speak called Outlaw Country that's going to air on WGN February 24th. It's a great series. If you've been a fan of Sons of Anarchy, if you're a fan of intense law enforcement drama, you're gonna become very interested in what you see in Outlaw Country. It's a real gritty show, nothing like it's ever been done before. Very credible, some very intense, very real, credible people involved in it. So check that out. That's our newest one. We've got 4 or 5 other shows that we have in one stage of development or another. I'm out here in Los Angeles today actually meeting with our production team, going over where we are on different things. So we've got a couple different projects, but Outlaw Country WGN is our most recent, and it's starting February 24th. Okay,
we will be looking at 2015, of course, depending upon if you people are watching this in 2017. You've already, yeah, well, you never know. You never know. Of course, now what I want to talk to you about is this huge event, which gave me goosebumps when I heard about it, coming up in Philadelphia, courtesy of RF Video. And it's going to be you debating, in a great debate, against Bruce Prichard, a.k.a. Brother Love, who was, during the Monday Night War period, one of Vince McMahon's solid right-hand men. And we've also been informed that this debate will be moderated by none other than Chris Jericho. So tell us how this was pitched to you, what you think of it, why you're doing it, and...
Yeah, you know what, it really started, it wasn't pitched to me. It was actually something that came about as a result of conversations that Bruce Prichard and I had been having over the course of, a couple months. Bruce and I ended up being friends. I didn't know Bruce at all prior to going to work for WWE. I mean, I knew who he was, but I didn't know him and had never met him. And having worked at WWE for a number of years, Bruce was my producer. He got charged when I first came in. He was the guy that everybody went, okay, well, somebody's got to work with Bischoff. Who wants to work with him? Not me, not me. Somehow Bruce got stuck with that task. But, I had immediately developed a lot of respect for him as a producer, as a person who had been in the wrestling business for a long, long time and seen a lot and done a lot. So even though we probably shouldn't have gotten along right off the bat, we did.
That's great.
And even after I left WWE, we stayed close. We worked together in TNA for a brief period of time. And Bruce and I were talking about, the Monday Night Wars and all the controversy. And quite frankly, I get a little, I don't want to say pissed off, but...
You can.
Well, it's not, I don't know that characterizes it the right way. I get frustrated.
You get defensive, too.
Because I get defensive?
Yeah, of course, you have to.
I don't think so. I call bullshit when I hear it.
Yeah.
Some people say that's defensive. But the story, the narrative for everything that went on during the Monday Night Wars. As important of a time as that was, 99.9% of the narrative is manufactured by the WWE. And of course, it's a narrative that frames them in the best possible light and frames the war in such a way as to make them a victim. And yes, they're the victim that eventually succeeded and, was able to fight off the billions of dollars that Ted Turner was throwing at it, to try to put the poor little Vince McMahon out of business. And the truth is, that's not the truth. That's not the way the Monday Night Wars manifest in the beginning. It's not the motivation for Turner to launch Nitro was not to beat up on poor little old Vince McMahon. None of that is true. And when we were talking about, Bruce and I were talking about the Monday Night Wars and how the story has been distorted so many different times and ways over the years, I thought, wow, this could be really fun. Why don't you and I debate the Monday Night Wars? Because you were right there. You were right there next to Vince McMahon at that critical time. And honestly, I was the guy that was doing it. It wasn't Ted Turner. It wasn't so many of the people that I've heard take credit for so much over the years. It was Bruce and I.
Yeah, I know. See, I know that. And I have a book coming out that I've been working on for years in October, November. And I discussed in there that you take an issue a lot of times with this because the war wasn't really Turner versus McMahon. It was you. And it took a while to see that, for people to see that. But, Ted Turner wasn't on the front lines. Ted Turner was given the money, but it was your vision going against Vince McMahon.
Well,
or the company.
It was also more than that. It wasn't, Vince, of course, likes people, especially back then when he was the underdog and was trying to get the sympathy vote. It was a lot easier for Vince to frame the narrative that benefited him most by saying big bad billionaire Ted Turner is trying to put me out of business. Yeah. That was a very good narrative. It made him the sympathetic underdog, and it was somebody that the fans could rally against meeting Ted Turner. But it wasn't true. Ted wanted WCW to be successful. Ted wanted WCW to be competitive, but Ted never said to me, try to put Vince McMahon out of business. I never wanted to put Vince McMahon out of business. I desperately want to be number one, and if that happened as a result, it wasn't my concern, but it wasn't my goal. That wasn't my goal.
Right. No, your goal was to be better than what their product was. I mean, you were it was your house, and you were trying to make the best thing that you could against their product. It was two companies against each other, competition. That's what it was. Yeah.
And I think Bruce, because even to this day, Bruce and Al, we don't hang out a lot together. I see him once a year or two. But, when we start talking about it and we start reliving moments, he's got one perspective because of where he was seating. And I have another perspective because of where I was sitting at that time. And they're not. We don't see things exactly the same, but we have enough respect for each other that we can debate them aggressively and honestly and firmly without it getting too ridiculous. At least I hope that's the case.
I can't wait to be honest with you. All the information, of course, is coming up here on your screen, and the added element here is Chris Jericho. Tell us what.
That was spontaneous combustion, which is, one of the elements that I always strive for to create a Nitro. Something's got to happen that nobody ever expected consistently. And ironically, Bruce and I were talking about different ways to promote the show, and, it was suggested that we do Chris's show on his podcast, and we did, and it was fun. And it just kind of happened. Chris got caught up in it. We got caught up in it. Chris volunteered. I said, hell yeah. And I just had a drink with Chris last night here in Los Angeles. He was on his way out catching a red eye, and I was having a late dinner. So we met just for a little while. It was great to see him. But it'll be great because, Chris is an entertainer. He's a performer, and he's going to help make the show that much better. Just
off the charts, really. I mean,
by virtue of who he is.
Yes.
But he also has the unique perspective of having been on both sides of the fence during critical periods in that war.
Oh, absolutely.
So Chris is going to be able to call bullshit, and I expect him to, because he's, Chris is Chris.
Yeah.
And so Bruce and I can debate. We have our points of view, but Chris is in a unique position to challenge both of those points of view, and I think that'll make it even more interesting.
Yeah, I agree with you. So just to tell everyone here, and this will be on Royal Rumble Sunday, as you know, and it'll be in Philadelphia at Dave and Buster's on January 25th, and the information where you can buy tickets, etc., again, is you can see that here on the screen, and I can't wait for this explosion. It's going to be like another Monday Night War right in front of our faces.
Well, there you go. Putting those expectations up there so high, we're going to have a hard time achieving them. But
right.
I think it will be. I think we'll be able to touch on it. We'll be able to relive, great moments within it. You'll hear different perspectives that hopefully people haven't heard before. I mean, they've heard me babble on in interviews and different things that I've said over the years. But the fans will be able to ask the questions. They can put us on the spot. They can challenge us. Chris will be able to do the same. And I think you'll hear a much different perspective about the Monday Night Wars than you certainly have on any of the WWE programming.
Okay, well, I'm very anxious to see this. Two more things to talk about before I let you go. And again, I will be there at this debate, and I'm looking forward to this because in all the years that I've been doing this, I'm always looking for that certain something that's not being done right now, and this is it. This is it. Randy Savage going into the WWE Hall of Fame. It was announced just a few days ago. Tell us your feeling on this.
I posted on my Twitter account, at E Bischoff. Very happy for Randy, rest in peace.
Yeah.
Very happy for the family. For Lanny, I don't know Lanny. I'm not friends, or I have had very little contact with Lanny, but the family is tight. Lenny obviously loves his brother very, very much, and,
yes,
and respects him very much. So I'm just happy for everybody involved. The fans, I'm happy for Randy and his memory. I'm happy for Lanny and the Poffel family. I just think it's a good thing. I've said this before. The Hall of Fame and the ceremony surrounding it is my favorite part of the entire weekend.
Me too.
I would much rather, and I'm not, everybody's going to read this and take it out of context and blow it out of proportion. WrestleMania is a phenomenal event. It's you have to see it. If you've never seen it, or even if you've had it, it's a phenomenal event. But in my opinion, I think the Hall of Fame is a cooler event. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
People are more emotional. You're seeing and hearing people and memories in a real raw and honest way, and the vibe is so good that it's the favorite part of the weekend for me. So I'm happy that Randy's going to be there in spirit. I'm happy for his fans. I'm happy for WWE. It's a great thing.
Yeah. A lot of people are, and this is not directed at the quote-unquote smart inside fans, but there's all this furor going on about he's going to be inducted, it looks like, by Hulk Hogan. And to me, that's a great choice, and I'll tell you why. Is that he and Hulk had such a history in the ring as opponents and tag team partners, but a lot of the feedback I'm getting from the quote-unquote smart community is, well, they didn't like each other, they didn't get along. To me, that doesn't matter. It's what the general public saw out there as their history. And I think because of their history together as characters in the business, that doing this is the right thing, because this is for the general public. This is not for the, they didn't like each other, etc. Do you agree with that?
Well, I agree with the portion of it that you stated, where this is really for the public. This is for the business. This is for the moment.
Right.
This is what this really represents, is the moment. And Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage do belong to be together in that particular moment as Randy's being inducted.
Absolutely.
I agree with that 100%. What I don't agree with is that Hulk and Randy didn't like each other. Hulk and Randy, they had a love-hate relationship.
I know. I was there. I saw that exactly.
At any given moment in their relationship, it could be the most loyal and loving and supportive relationship, or they could be out looking for each other with ball peen hammers and crowbars.
Mm-hmm.
It just depended on the moment. And in a way, and I don't mean to be so dramatic about this or wax, philosophical.
Please do be.
But in my opinion, I think Randy is probably smiling right now. I think if this could have been written by Randy, knowing everything that we know, Randy would have wanted this because it makes it the biggest moment it can be. You have Hulk Hogan, which is, undeniably one of the biggest names in the history of our business, who had this tremendous history with another individual who is a legend and an icon. And I just don't know that moment could be any bigger or as big if it was anybody other than Hulk Hogan. Randy would have known that.
I agree. And again, what you said was so true, because there were moments that they loved each other and there were moments that they couldn't stand each other. But it's like that doesn't matter, because you were there, I was there, and the people that go on the internet and write, oh, these two just despise each other, they hated each other because this one said it and that said it, unless you were there and living it, you really, you can't write something like that.
I agree.
Yeah. Eric Bischoff, thank you so very much. We so look forward to seeing you against Bruce Prichard, a.k.a. Brother Love, with Chris Jericho as the moderator. Royal Rumble weekend, the day of the Royal Rumble. Again, you can see here where to go to get your tickets. And listen, one other thing that I have to... a fan sent this in to me when I mentioned to someone today that I was going to interview me. And they said they had met Eric Bischoff and they'd seen him on TV and talked about your ego and your sarcasm. And they wanted to know, in my opinion, sarcasm, ego, Eric Bischoff versus Ole Anderson, who would have won? What's the answer?
It's so funny when I've read, people talking about how massive my ego was, and that's. I mean, it's hard to talk about yourself in this respect, but I've never had an ego. Didn't matter to me if I took out the garbage, if I watered the plants, if I was the head of the company. I worked hard, I did my work, I contributed, I expect the same of others. I don't know that I've ever really had an ego.
Your character did.
But that's
different. But that was your character. That's the different guy.
The character, of course, the character had an ego. It was flawed in more ways than the real person actually is. But that's the nature of a character. The real person doesn't have much of an ego.
I know that. Like I said, I've known you back since the AWA days, so I know Eric Bischoff, so I could definitely stand up for that fact. But I told him I'd ask that anyway. Yeah,
well, that's, me against Ole Anderson in any other respect, I would come out on the losing end of the proposition. But
okay, all right, Eric. I always have every guest do this on the Apter Chat. If you wouldn't mind putting your index finger up by the camera here, there you go. We'll see you at the great debate.
See you there.
And as Freddie Miller used to say, be there.